frankincense oil. What if I told you that you can make your own frankincense infused oil that is way better and more effective than any frankincense essential oil? This oil has so many anti-aging benefits. It builds collagen, it evens skin tone, it firms and it hydrates, and it's also wonderful for relieving joint and muscle pain. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to make it for yourself, and it's super easy. This is a frankincense resin. I will link in the description where I got this. And this is the resin from the boswellia tree. And that is similar to sap from, say, like a pine tree or any other tree. However, it is slightly harder, and it requires an extra step to dissolve it into an oil than, say, just a regular pine resin. But I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. What you'll need is a frankincense resin. You're going to need an oil. I've chosen a jojoba oil because I am primarily making this for the skin benefits. You'll need a crock pot and a mason jar. Now you can use a double boiler if you are going to have the time to stick with it and watch it. But I prefer the crock pot because I can put it in here, leave it, and let this go for a good 24 hours. This is a coffee grinder. This one I just used for my spices. We are going to crush up the frankincense resin. Now you can also buy this already ground up and in a powder, but I got the resin. So we're gonna grind it up. This is a resin, so it can get a little gummy. Now I have had this in the freezer. That is what is recommended, that it will grind up a little better. That's all you need. Oh, and you're also going to need some sort of strainer. This is a coffee strainer that I bought, and it has a super fine filtration. So we're going to see how that does and see if we need to add any kind of cheesecloth to it. But you don't need this. You could use just a metal mesh strainer and a little bit of cheesecloth and do just fine. Oh, cheesecloth. Let me show you the cheesecloth. I have a really fine cheesecloth, but any cheesecloth will do. Just double it up. So we've got this little organic cheesecloth in case we need it. I will link all of this in the description. I'll also have in the description a link for a printable everything you need list and a simple walk you through how to do it. Now remember, we have popped this resin in the freezer overnight, hopefully to make it easier to grind. There's several different recommendations for this out there. Some people like to measure it out by weight. Oh, and a digital scale. It's recommended that you measure this 1 part of the frankincense resin to 3 parts of the oil. So how that works is if you have 4 ounces of frankincense resin, you'd want to do 4 ounces times 3. If you have 1 ounce of frankincense resin, then you use 3 ounces of oil. Math. But like I said, you could also do 1/4 of a cup of the resin and 3/4 cups of an oil. I think that'd be fine. So what we're gonna do to get started is we have water in the crock pot. Let's see, I'm gonna set it to ounces. We're gonna place our container on here and we're gonna tare it. What that does is it takes it back to 0, so it doesn't matter what this is weighing, it's just gonna weigh the frankincense. Two-ish ounces. And I am going to place it in the little grinder. We'll have to get a little spatula. Some of them didn't grind up. We'll take them out. This smells amazing. I'm gonna measure out some more. Tare that. Let's see. Oops. Tare. And we're 2 ounces. I'm gonna go ahead and do it all. And it should be 2 ounces, and it's slightly over. So that is 4 ounces total. It did good. It didn't gum it up, so the freezer helped. It smells amazing. Let's get the oil in here. Now, since I have 4 ounces of resin, I'm going to need 4 times 3, 12 ounces of oil. So we've tared it, so it's at 0. So we can pour until we get at the 12 ounces. This is a jojoba oil that it's organic, and I got it in a glass jar. Very important, organic jojoba oil. Now, if I were doing this just for the pain relief and going to make a salve, I would probably use a less expensive oil, a good olive oil or an avocado oil, because it would be more cost effective. I've chosen the jojoba oil because it is an oil that can tolerate the heat without it destroying the benefits that are in the oil. And it also is pretty compatible for most skin types. I go over a lot of that in some other videos. Let's stir this up because this can want to cake up in the bottom. It wants to be a gummy substance. So let's get this stirred up as we add our oil. Okay, there we go. So we're at 6 ounces, 6.81. 12 point something. I used almost that whole jar. We're going to get a lot of oil out of this. So I'm going to get that good and stirred. So isn't that pretty? What we're going to do is we're going to set this in here and we're going to get the water up as far as we can so that it's keeping it heated all the way through. Now I'm going to place a washcloth in the bottom of the water so that this glass jar, there's a gnat in here, so that this glass is not sitting straight onto the bottom of the heat source, and we don't want to risk it getting too hot and cracking. This is an oil. You do not want to get water in your oil because water in your oil is going to cause it to be able to grow bacteria. So we don't want that. I am going to set that in here. I'm going to put a lid on this while I add water to this so I don't splash any water in it. But I'm not going to leave the lid on. I'm going to do this for 24 hours. Now you can do it for as little as 3 or 4 hours, but I want a good strong extraction out of the resin. I personally would do it for at least 24 hours. Now you could do this just like you would a tincture. You could grind the resin, add your oil, set it in a dark warm spot, just some little dark spot that may get a little warm. The warmth is going to pull the resins out better. But you could do that and leave it for 6 weeks or longer. That would do it as well. It smells amazing. I've set this on high so this will get good and hot. Depending on what we're left with the resin, there's another little extra beauty hack we can do with the resin. So we'll talk about that after we get it strained tomorrow. It's been 24 hours and it's time to strain our oil off of our frankincense resins. I added water to this because it would cook down. And when I added water, I heated the water in the tea kettle. You could probably just use really hot water out of the tap, but I preferred getting a really hot water into it just to kind of maintain a consistent, and it's cool to the touch. It's not super hot. I'm going to take that out. You could simmer this even longer and it would probably pull out more of the boswellic acid and different things from the resin if you wanted, as long as you kept adding water. There is a lot of the resin powder still left in here. I hate to stir it before we pour it, but I kind of want to, but I'm not going to. We're going to pour this off and I'll show you what I plan to do with the rest of this. It's going to be cool. I'm excited for it. Oh, actually, I went ahead and added, there was just about 1.5 inches, 2 inches left in here. I added that to it. It's not going to make that much of a difference because I took the label off. It peeled off pretty easy and the glue washed off with soap and water and a scrub brush. Super easy. It wasn't one of those difficult ones. It comes with a little pump. I'm just going to put the oil back in here and put the pump on it. And I labeled it. Always label, 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 label. I'm not good at labeling. I have my stainless steel funnel, and it's a wide mouth funnel. And this is a coffee filter. It's stainless steel, super fine strainer. I bought it just for this purpose. I used it to strain a tincture and I love it. I want to see how this does without using the cheesecloth. If you don't have one of these, that's fine. You don't have to have one of these. You can use just a mesh strainer as long as it's metal. You don't want to use plastic. With a mesh strainer, I would use a cheesecloth to strain the oil. Now some of your oil is going to soak into the cheesecloth, but you can just wring it out afterwards. It's not too bad. Then you can just wash and reuse these. So you don't have to have this fancy strainer, but I'm so glad I got it. Let's see how it does. Now we're starting to get some of the resin to go in. Now that we're getting down to the resin, I will stir it up a little. And you can see it's kind of a sandy consistency. That gives me an idea. I could take this after I strain this out and add more oil and do a second strain, or add more oil and just set it aside and leave it. But I think I'm gonna do something else. Can you guess what I'm thinking? Now this is taking its sweet time, so it must be building up residue. It is straining it out. I'll be patient. You can see that this is drastically different than an essential oil. The difference is in the resin, and it contains boswellic acid, terpenes, and polysaccharides. Frankincense has been used for reducing arthritis pain, stress, anxiety, and balancing your hormones. It has so many benefits, so it doesn't just smell nice and look pretty. Now you get some good benefits from essential oil. When I get my infused oil filtered out, you can add a few drops of your essential oil, and then you get the best of both worlds. However, you're going to get most of your benefits from this, and overall this is less expensive than some of your quality frankincense essential oils. So I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of this in. I don't typically use silicone anymore, but sometimes you just need a good spatula. It's not hot anymore, so we're safe. It's a chance I'm willing to take. We'll be okay. Well, this thing is working. It's not letting the fine particles go through, so that's good. What I've noticed is if I scrape this gently on the sides, it allows the oil to come through faster. I just got to thinking, with what I'm planning to do with this anyway, I think I'm going to stop right here and show you what I'm up to. Now, let me show you. It is like a scrub. And spoiler alert, that's what I'm going to use it for. So I'm going to save the rest of this resin, and I'm going to use it as a scrub. I don't think I mentioned in this video, and if you're new here, my name's Loanna. I'm a licensed esthetician, and I have been trying to transition, well, I've transitioned to all natural skincare, and it's been a journey. And if that is something you'd be interested in, seeing how I'm going to use this scrub, what my skincare routine is right now, let me know in the comments and hit like and subscribe, because that's the kind of things I do around here. And I'm not a huge fan of scrubs on the face. I'll be the guinea pig because I'm pretty sensitive when it comes to scrubs, so we'll see. But for your body, that is awesome. I think it's going to be lovely. So let's get this in this jar. And again, the only time I use silicone is when it is not heated and you just need to get in here and scrape out some stuff. There's a little bit still in here. I don't want to waste any of it. This thing is wonderful. Wonderful. Little tip. If you put this funnel in and there's no air, it's not going to go in as fast. If you pop it up just a little and let it have some air, it'll pour right in. That was 16 ounces. So we lost very little. And now it's in our scrub. Isn't that pretty? After you made yours, if you wanted to put some in a smaller bottle, or you could make a small amount of this, you don't have to do this large of an amount. I want to recommend that if you've not used frankincense on your skin, I want you to test it, test a little spot, see how you're going to react to it. And before you go adding a bunch of stuff in, remember, simple, see how you react, and then add one ingredient at a time. Now, wasn't that easy? And again, in the description, I have everything linked that you'll need, and I will also have a printable download that you can click, and it will have the checklist of everything you need and step-by-step instructions. Easy breezy. And it's free.